Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And the normal battles are over. Time to move on to the boss battles, which are a little bit different from typical Jubilees. Mainly because one is a turn limit and one is a traditional, like, old school Jubilee boss battle stage. We'll talk more about that when we actually get to that video. But this video is going to talk about boss battle 1. 7 turn limit, so longer than a 5 turn like burst team like Exalted Champions or something, but 1 turn shorter than traditional stacking teams like Visions of Coleus, Commander, the Frieren team. A lot of characters nowadays enable some kind of ability on turn 8, and you can't do that. Like Ogre Sprite Benny Mario on turn 8 gets that 100% Pierce power, you're not going to get that here. So it does restrict a few things. Even like Prosper Rimuru doesn't get his awakened ability till turn 8. So you're going to have a tough time. It is an AoE fight, so you're fighting Velzard, Leon, and Romaris, who individually they don't really do too much. Velzard does have Pierce resistance, 50%, so if you're going to bring a Pierce team, it's not going to work nearly as well as you would like it to. They nerf blue damage and blue gauge. Not that that really makes too much of a difference. You can kind of just get around that. And then Leon is just damage. But this is just meant to do as much damage as possible in 7 turns. You have a guaranteed starting hand of green orbs, though, and then everything after that is random. So turn 1 is guaranteed, which is really, really nice. You don't even have to convert. You just send greens. Well, you can convert if you want to. There's like one unit that can do that. But my high score, 1.2 million, definitely not impressive when you look at 1.7s up here. I don't really care. I really don't care to go any higher than this. Like, maybe if I feel the need to push to 3 million, this is the only way I can improve. But other than that, there's only a few teams that can get... Well, there's only one team that can get a million score, honestly, if I'm going to be completely honest, and that's the Frieren team. So, the video could be a bit shorter than normal, because it's either the Frieren team, the Divine General team, or good luck, essentially. So let's just go ahead and jump in. Okay, so this is the team I ran. This is not the team that the people who scored higher than me ran, and I really don't care. But we're going to go all-out damage here. So we've got Himmel, we've got the old masked hero, because Pierce is nerfed, so we don't want to bring the new hero. And plus she gives extra protection gauge, which is cool. Fern, Violet to give the magic buff to Frieren, Frieren herself, and then Raphael. So if you don't have Raphael, I mean, it's an orange orb team. Like, the weakness strike doesn't do anything here, from the stacking effects to the part of the Raphael big time buff skill. You could just bring a different character. Like, you could bring Shinsha, like Wielder of Magic Shinsha, to get the blue protection gauge. That would totally work. You don't need to bring Raphael. Bring another support character, an orb changer, something, I don't know. Octogram Lumi would work. But this is what I'm going to run. And we're just going to stack up as many buffs as we can on Frieren, since it's an AoE stage, and then have her nuke. Turn 1, because it's a full hand of greens, is very nice and easy. It allows us to get a lot of skill points and set up at least one guaranteed protector. As long as you have the big 3, right? But 6 greens gets you that, and then, turn 2, you need some oranges. But here, since we're not worried about sending 6 alts with Raphael, you really just use Raphael for the protection gauge more than anything else. Like, you don't really need to alt with Raph. Like, you're gonna do it anyways, but it's not the primary focus of your day. You're not getting 10,000 or like 1,000% weakness strike. It'll show on your character screen that you have it, but it's not gonna matter since we're type neutral. So people who don't have Raphael, please don't freak out. Just put your brain together, bring another buffing character, call it a day. So don't lose your marbles. But we do want to ensure that we can get at least 2 EX alts, one with Fern, one with Frieren. If you can get a Raphael EX alt on the nuke turn, then great, and you can send that. I don't know if I get that lucky here with orbs, so I might be missing the Raphael alt. Kind of unfortunate, because once you put all these buffs on, Raphael can do, decent numbers for a support alt, but I don't think we have it on this run. But more importantly, there's the full hand of orbs for Frieren. So now both Frieren and Fern have the EX alts, and now we just need to store like one of the buffs because we're a bit expensive. Because we've got two 90-point skills on Fern, we've got the 90-point skill on Frieren, we've got the hero crit, we've got the Violet magic buff. If you want to use the Raphael buff, if you have Raphael, then that's another 90 points. It'll give you extra attack. The weakness resistance down doesn't matter, but you can store the attack buff on both Frieren and Fern, and that will work. So here, we're going to put the magic buff on Frieren now, since Fern has her own magic buff. So we are going to store that, and then we'll store the attack buff from Raphael. And now we're going to be pretty good, and now we just are going to rewind in order to get maybe an extra stack of Raphael for the element buff. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. If you get alts for people, you send them. You just hold on to Fern and Frieren in the back. I believe the Sweats are doing a double nuke with the rewind, so they're full buffing Frieren and Fern like halfway or close to the end of the fight, and then somehow reacquiring their EX alts in the final moments, and then you still technically have enough points to do most of the nuking. Not with this specific team, but I believe that's what they're doing. I cannot be asked to do that right now. I don't have the motivation to do so. We're gonna have 2 Jubilees this meta. I don't want to invest that much brain power into this, especially when there are no crystals involved. So if crystals were here, I'd be a bit more caring, but that'll come later in February. So we have 3 turns left. We did have to make sure that we also activated the Frieren magic state a couple turns ago, because this is turn, so we had to activate it on turn 4, right? So in order for it to hit on turn 7. So we did do that. I don't think I mentioned it at the time, but I'm mentioning it now. Because it will give her extra attack, and it will give the enemies an element resistance down, which, while not super strong, is just another debuff, and so we'll nuke a little bit harder. It's just something to add into it. But here, we've got 2 turns left, 1 turn left technically because it's the nuke turn. So here, double stack of Himmel, and then as long as we can get as many points as possible, we're looking good. But because of the hero's crit buff, and you can't like store it or anything, we're gonna have to swap some characters out. So this is why I don't get the Raphael ult, because I can't swap Raphael out for Fern or something because she has the attack buff already on her. And I can't swap her out for Frieren because she has the attack buff and the magic buff on her. So we're going to have to send Raphael away alongside Violet in order to get the crit buff on both of our characters. So that's why I don't have the Raphael. I do get, not great luck on the orbs. I do get at least 1 Frieren orb, but 1, 2, 3, boom, boom, boom. My Master Hero is skill fused, so if you use more and more points on the nuke turn, you can get extra crit resistance down, so she's up to 50%. She caps at 60. And we have how many points left over? 75. So yeah, we wouldn't have had enough to do another nuke or another skill. But boom, 11.6 million. Here, let me rewind that so you guys can actually see the numbers. Oh my god, stop. 15? Yeah, 15 million a hit. So that's pretty strong. Again, she's got quite a few buffs on. She's got the pretty much 170% attack because of her own buff, and then the Raphael buff, the magic, the synergy, the ult, the EX ult resistance down. She's going to do a lot. And then Fern herself does 11.6 million damage. So a lot coming off of that. And then the follow-up orbs, which are the hero, which aren't going to do a lot. But then the Frieren orb, 652k right there. So if we had like a whole hand of Frieren orbs, it would have done like 300 or something. But that gives me a 59.3 score, which is my current high score of like the 1.2 million or something like that. So that is my current high score, just buffing the shit out of Frieren and Fern and moving on with my day. There are substitutions you can make on this team. There are different strategies. Like I said, the whales are doing their rewind stuff and their double nuking. But if you don't have this team, you're not going to get this score. And at that point, Divine General is your next best option, and then literally every team after that is going to be the sad kind of teams, even though they're probably good teams. Alright, I said Divine General, And you do get a just free starting hand of greens, which gives Diablo a great room to run right off the bat. So that's really cool. It's just that this team, even though it is very strong single target nuking, it is not going to match up to the power that the Frieren team has, which is very, very interesting considering it's the 3rd anniversary team and they came out 2 months before the Frieren team. Goes to show how good the Frieren team is. Alright, so turn 1, it's gonna be the green buff, and then we'll bring in Blanc and we'll bring in Raphael, and then we'll do the 2 stacks because we have 30 points and we haven't really used any points yet, even though we've used 2 skills. So we can get 2 free stacks of Raphael right there, which is cool. And then we can send this, and then this is just an extra. This is just a 12-minute exercise of clicking buttons over and over and over and over again. And your luck with this team could go many different ways, right? You could have to convert 5 orbs every turn, of which case I would just reset. Or you can convert 3 orbs every turn, or 2, and then that will just get you the ability to use more and more stacks of Raphael, which could increase your damage. So, like, if you use this team and you got really good RNG, your Divine General score could be really higher than mine, because you got more stats. Maybe you'd pull a natural crit out of your butt, and on, like, Blanc and Raphael. That'd be really cool, too. That would definitely help your damage out. Because you can use pretty much everything. Because Elmesia seals the resistance against Pierce. So, while Velzard normally puts at 50% on, Elmesia says, yeah, not today. So the Pierce power from the new hero is going to be full power. Not the case for other Pierce-focused teams, though. So just keep that in mind. But, I mean, this team, we know this team takes literally forever to run, and it is just orb change in a green, use stacks of Raphael. So I'm not going to make you sit here for the next 10 minutes and watch me do this while I talk about literal nonsense, because I don't know how to fill this time. So we're a few turns in. We just need to orb change. We just need to continue stacking. We are going to use the hero's rewind, so I will cut to that turn after we finish this, where we get both of the EX ults. You're going to get a lot of ults with this team, because Elmesia's Enamor effect gives you 25% ult gauge every time an enemy pops it, which there's 3. So you're pretty much, after turn 2, you're guaranteed 75% ult gauge. So you're not really worried about getting ults, it's managing the ults, because you want to send full hands of greens to get the most points, so you can do more stacks, and it's just that over and over and over again. So let me cut, and let me go find the rewind turn. Okay, we rewound on turn 6, technically, since this is a 7-turn fight. So here, we've got Diablo, we're going to use his green buff, we're going to bring the hero in, we're going to punch the rewind button, boom, and then we'll bring Gazel up front, who thankfully does not have an ult, because we've sent it. So here, we can orb change, boom, we have to literally change every single freaking orb, which is generally how your luck is going to go with this team, and then we can ult swap, more orb changing, more stacking. But I rewound on turn 6. You can rewind, if you really wanted to, you could rewind turn 1, because you have the free 30 points, right? It's not out of the realm of possibility for you to do that, because you at least have one guaranteed hand. It's just, you're not going to get a lot of points out of it, and you don't have a lot of points stockpiled. And you're really, really wanting to have a lot of points, so you can use a lot of the Raphael stacks. So turn 6 is like the absolute last turn that you can do that to really build your ult gauge and your ult damage and your synergy power up. So here, because we didn't have to send any ults on the rewind, it actually gave us another full bar of Elmesia and all of our points back. So now we can just do a couple orb changes, a couple stacks, and then reset with Elmesia again, and then we'll be looking really, really, really good. So I think we're going to end up like 30-something stacks, which is fantastic for the most part. And again, you could get more. Like, you maybe don't have to orb change 5 orbs or something on one of the turns. And then you just get more stacks of Raphael. It's very simple. Very, very simple, right? Just RNG your way there, man. So, boom. And I think we have points for one more. Nope, we're good. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have the EX alts for our 2 main nukers already, plus we have the alt for both the hero and Diablo in the back, I believe. So we're looking good. And then, you know, we're not going to get a full hand, but it is what it is. So now we're ready to go. This is the final turn. We've got the alts ready. We've got the points. We have 24 stacks. Never mind, my bad. 24 stacks of Raphael. So let's Pierce buff. We're not going to use the Gazel buff because that's pretty much useless here. So hero buff, and now we're going to Diablo buff and all the other buffs here. Boom, boom, boom. And then we have 40 points left over. We can use Almesia to reset one last time, and that will give us 2 additional stacks of Raphael, because it's going to cost 0 and then 20, and then we can't do anything else there. The Blanc alt swap has like the weakness resistance debuff on it. Doesn't matter here, they're type neutral. It has no effect. But Diablo is going to do 2.1 million damage. Okay, pretty good. If he had crit on any of those, it would have done more, but, you know, whatever. Raphael does 13 million, and then Blanc does 16 million. So definitely not like the 59 million that the Frieren team did in the first clip, but it's still a reasonable, respectable number from the full 3rd anniversary team, right? If you don't have the light masked hero, use the old masked hero, the space one. You can crit then, and then it's not going to be nerfed anyways, which you wouldn't have to worry about. But 806,000, it's not the million, but it is the next highest scoring team. And now we can move on to the sad other teams. Okay, so as I have said this entire video, if you don't have one of those 2 teams, Divine General or Frieren, you're kind of shit out of luck, because nothing else is going to do remotely close to that amount of damage. So we're going to use the Commander team, because it normally is an okay team. It's just not as powerful. Renard, only half of his stacking skill is going to work, because he stacks Weakness Strike, which again means nothing, type neutral, and then the alt resistance down, which does matter. We've got the old hero for the crit, the Hinata for the alt and the orb change, Glenda for the synergy rate and the alt swap, Diablo for single target damage, and Shizu for AoE damage, plus the buff, plus the orb changing. And we're just gonna hyper speed through this, because if you don't have Divine General or you don't have the Frieren team, I would just recommend you put together some sort of team and attempt this fight and then walk away. And it's, you know, it sounds mean, but if you're trying to get a good score, it's going to be those 2 teams. If you are just trying to take on this event to get a placement in your group and then you don't really give a shit, then you can just build any team that you want and do a couple runs, a singular run maybe, and then call it a day. But on this run, I rewound turn 1 because it gives us that full hand of greens, it gives us extra protection gauge, and it means that we can convert turn 2 between Shizu and Hinata. So that worked out fairly well. So now, even though our skills are more expensive, we actually are going to get like an extra stack out of that, even though our skills are a bit more expensive now. We are running the alt gauge on Blue Charm, because I need alts for 3 characters here. Diablo can alt rush himself, so I'm not super duper worried about him, but I do want the EX alt with Shizu, because she's the AoE character. Hinata is going to miss a few of the buffs, because we're going to prioritize Diablo and Shizu, so she's not going to be nearly as powerful, but she can still put in like a number at the end of the day. So Diablo, now that he has his alt and a lot of alt, we can just start alt rushing with him with his Lord's Ambition skill, and we don't need him up front because Glenda only swaps 2 alts. So let's just alt rush with him, boom, and then we'll take him out for Hinata, and then we can alt swap and then use Hinata's orb change, and that's what we're going to focus on. And this is how we get the EX alt for both those characters. And then the next turn, we'll bring Diablo in, use a skill, and send him away again. So it's going to be really simple. Boom, 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 thank you, yep. And now, stack. Again, only half of the Renard stacks are actually going to matter, but if it's what you got, it's what you got. Diablo in for Glenda. We'll do the final alt rush. Now he has his EX alt, and then we'll bring the hero in. And this is pretty much how we're going to end the fight, because we're going to give the synergy rate to Diablo and to Shizu. Hinata's not going to get that. Hinata's not going to get the crit either. So she's going to be missing a lot. But bring Diablo in for Hinata, Boom, because we can only alt swap 2, and these are our 2 more important characters to nuke with. And then we'll take the hero out, we'll alt swap, we have just oranges, so that's good. Don't need to use that many skills. 1 more stack of Renard means that we can get enough points back to do a proper nuke. And then this turn, I'll slow it down, hold on. Okay. So this is the nuke turn. Well, we're going to kick into the nuke turn here. So we're going to buff with Glenda first, because we need to give the synergy rate to Diablo and Shizu. And then I guess we can use Diablo's own buff, because it's personal. It doesn't matter for anybody else. And then we'll send Glenda away for the Masked Hero. We're going to use her crit buff, and we'll give the crit to our 2 main source of damage characters. And then we'll bring in Hinata, and then we can use the other 2 buffs. So the alt damage, the synergy down, the physical, and the EX alt damage. And then we can put 1 more stack of Renard on. Cool, I guess. And then we'll just send it, and we got the 2 Diablo orbs to send. So we're going to send Shizu first, because she raises attack on her alt. And then Shizu does 1.4 million damage. Okay. Hinata, with like no buffs going, does 435. Pretty sad, but she's missing a lot of stuff right now. And then Diablo, who has everything, plus the own personal buffs, does 3.6. So we're going to cross the 9 million barrier right here. It's not 39, and it's certainly not 59, but it's a team that you might have because they're a bit older, and they've been on a lot of free banners, so maybe you pulled them or some semblance of this team. That's an option for you. Alright, the final team I have is Visions of Coleus, which is going to do even worse than the Commander team, so I'm really just going to show you this, the team comp, and then the nuke turn. It is still stacking blues. We're going to bring Ogre's Pride Soe, because he is really good for this team. He's going to give magic characters an attack buff, and then 50% synergy power, because of how we have to run this. We're only going to get the 50%. So that at least is going to help Violet do more damage. If you can find a way to apply it to Blanc prior to the nuke, then certainly you can go ahead, but you're going to do 3 single target nukes with the ladies. And then Coleus Rimuru is here to Rainbow Orb Change to help supercharge the alt gauges for the 3. So I guess we can cut to that. Hold on. So just starting out, turn 1, we're going to bring in all 3 of the Primal Demon Girls. We're just going to send 6 greens. That's all we're going to do. The traits will kick in. It'll give us a decent amount of protection gauge. Lumi is stacking attack buff on the 3 and then giving us synergy rate. So that's good, because we need it to activate the synergy resistance down from Blanc and the synergy power from Soe, and technically Jean's own skill. So it's probably actually better that... Well, no, because we also want Jean to have that attack buff. If you got to use this team, you got to formulate it. This is the 2nd anniversary team, so it's over a year old now at this point, and its age is going to definitely show in its damage output. It was really, really, really high for 2023. Really, really high. It's been a bit outclassed. But we have Soe here, not only for his buff, but for orb changing. If you don't have Soe, bring a different orb changer. That can work for you. Or you can bring Divine General Diablo, and everyone gets 100% synergy power at that point, and you can just use Violet's orb change over and over and over again. You also have Rimuru, who can convert his own orbs, which, if you get lucky, it'll work for you. But here, we're going to Rainbow Orb Change, and then we'll bring in Blanc. So we're doing it quite early, but it worked out for us. So here, we're going to get 2 Rainbow Orbs for each of them, which really, really helps out us getting it, because Blanc needs some help. Jean and Violet have been in the turns for a little bit more, but Rainbow Orbs, points, alt gauge, protection gauge, we're looking good now. Blanc has the triple alt swap, so now, as long as we can get pretty good hands of orbs, we have 3 guaranteeds because of the alt swap. And thankfully, it pretty much works out in our favor, where we're getting a fairly even split. So alt swap, orb change, send 6 blues, and do it again until everybody has an EX alt. I think I'm running the protection gauge charm for blues, but you could also run the skill, like the alt gauge charm on blues. That way you're guaranteed pretty much to get the 3 EX alts, even with the rainbows. It'll just make it faster. So here, boom, orb change. Blanc needs the most, so she got the most. works out very well for us because we need to send somebody away on the second to last turn. So we do this, boom. We're not bringing a rewind character this time in case you don't have them or don't want to. But here, Blanc has the EX alt. We're going to take the alts. We can alt swap and orb change and send her away. And then we can bring in Soe, who then we can leave there. And then on the final turn, we could give Jean and Violet the Soe buff and then bring Blanc in. And that's what we're going to do. Before we send away, we're going to get the 2 stacks on because we want the attack stacks on them. So boom, and then Blanc comes out for Soe, and his entire job was like 2 turns of orb changing, and that's it. And then the buff. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This gets us the EX alts for both of them, which is good timing because this is the last turn that we can do that. And now we are ready to buff, and that hand looks really good because we just have the 1 Soe orb, which means we have 1 Blanc orb. So we actually got a 6-hand send. So let's buff with Soe, attack and synergy power. We'll bring Blanc in. The weakness strike from her skill doesn't really matter because we're type neutral, but synergy down does definitely help. And then we'll use all the other buffs. Magic, alt, EX alt, space resistance down, all of that stuff. And then we'll go ahead and send it. And this is the final team. So if you can't use one of these 4, just build a team and try the stage out. That's all I can tell you. Very low stakes, but yeah, 4.7. We're going to break 5 million. Less damage than Commander, much less damage than the other 2. It is what it is. Try your best. Build a team. Find a team that works. It doesn't have to be one of these 4, but just know that there's only really one primary option, which I hope people have, because the Frieren team is the collab that we just came out of, and it's quite popular. So hopefully you can bring better teams than these final 2. But whatever you used, if you found that it works, put it down in the comments. That way other people can see that. But that's it for me. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.